4447, you're dead wrong as usual. J-Bone, 6482. I thought the same thing when I seen Hader warming up. There's no need to bring him in unless maybe you're down 1 run and you want to keep it tight. Hader, he said Hatter, actually. Hatter pitched 1.5 innings a game. Let him pitch in all 3 games. Stop being a wuss. Okay, let's use him in game 1 when they're down by 3, and then let's lessen his efficiency. That way when you really need him to preserve a 1-run lead in game 3 in the 9th, he's not even close to 100%. 4113, you asked how likely a comeback was. In the broadcast, they said there has been 1 win in playoff history when the home team was down 3 heading into the 9th. That's a long shot.
That's just for winning 1 game, right? Not the series.
Right. Yeah, he's saying that a playoff team has never in
Right.
playoff history, well, one time in playoff history, has a home team won when they're down by 3 heading into the 9th. So, preserving it, there's a chance to win. It would be the second time in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, from the standpoint of that, adding more fuel to your fire to not use Hader, okay. And look, and yet we were still sitting here, and I swear to you, I thought that Caratini's was more of a bloop. I thought that was going to fall down the left field line, and then Todd Frazier said he really got that one. It didn't seem that way. And then Hayward seemed like, off the bat, first glance, that was going to be down in the corner to possibly tie or win the game. But you can't count on that. And when you know that you're at home and you're going to look like you're going to lose game 1 before you even get to a scenario where you had a chance, I just don't like the fact that you're burning your closer. There's other options for you to use that aren't as important and as big of a factor in this series as Josh Hader.
I'm with you on that, Adrian. I'm torn on Hader coming into the 9th. On one hand, you're down by 3. Why are you bringing in your closer in hopes that your offense finally wakes up? And you're the second team in playoff history to come back down by 3 entering the 9th. That's a home team. But on the other hand, it's the freaking playoffs in a 3-game series. You treat every game as if it's your last. I think I lean more towards being okay with Hader coming in. Okay, I think that's foolish. I don't think that in any way you should be treating every single playoff game as it's your last. So they should have used Fromber for 4 2/3. They should have brought in Hunter Brown for 3, and they should have closed it out with Kikuchi, because that would be like treating every single playoff game like it's your last. You can't do that. You got to think big picture. It is a series for a reason, and you're trying to win 2 of the 3, and you have to make managerial decisions that give you the best chance to win 2 of 3. Astros could still very well win this series. I still think they will win this series. But using Hader today lessened your chances of winning 2 games in the 3-game series than it increased it didn't increase your chances. It decreased them for sure, because he's going to be less effective the more the series goes on and the more you use him in the series, if you do use him all 3 games.
I was going to say, you have to be hopeful then that you're in a position, because I believe they're going to win the series as well, but you have to hopefully be in a position that you don't have to use him tomorrow, so that you buy that day off so that he is as fresh as he can be for a game 3 then, because of the fact that you look at it and say maybe just Joe Espada not having confidence in anybody else because he wanted to go to Hader there instead of any of the other arms he could have chosen that would have given you the same opportunity to keep it within 3. I don't like it. I actually hate it, to be honest with you. We hated it at the time. I hate it more now, because you know how necessary Hader's probably going to be a factor in probably both games. And I don't want him, and I don't like the scenario of you can't get too far ahead of yourself. But if he pitches 3 days in a row, then what does that do if you do have the luck and the privilege to advance? Yeah. Because now he's burnt with 3 games in a row. He's going to need a day or 2, probably minimum, before you throw him again.
Yeah. Do you have the off day? Does it go straight into the division series?
As I'm saying, there's 1 day for sure that you're going to get off.
Yeah, so that would help.
And then to see that game 1, you're probably looking like he's not available.
I mean, if you're willing to use him 3 games in a row, I think that you're willing to use him 4 or 5 days. Does it lessen his effectiveness? Yes,
I think it does.
But I think if you're willing to use him 3 games in a row, you're darn sure willing to use him 4 times in 5 games. 5044, the TV graphic said the teams are 1 in 538. So 539 times. The Astros, the team has only won once when trailing by 3 runs or more. So the TV graphic said teams are 1 in 538 when trailing by 3 or more runs in the 9th. 1 in 539 now. Everybody should listen to the Killer Bees, because they're absolutely correct about Hader.
Again, if you're 1 down, if you're tied, or if you're in the lead, that's when I use my closer. I'm not using my closer 3 down. I'm just not doing it.
7557 didn't like the Hader call today, but getting to the 9th with the chance made it worth it. Did it? You're still down 1-0.
Yeah, you lost.
You're still down 1-0. How did that make it worth it? And anybody else could have also pitched a scoreless ninth. Like just because you used Hader doesn't mean that somebody else could not have pitched a scoreless ninth. In fact, Hader made it a little bit nervous. There was a runner at second base with one out. Another reliever could have put up a goose egg there, and you're still down by 3 and entering the same daunting scenario in the bottom of the ninth inning.
You don't know what you don't know because we didn't see anybody else. But at that point, based on the numbers that were just brought up multiple times and the fact that you know that's probably, if you're planning on winning this series, it's going to be a 3-game series and you're going to need all of the best hands on deck. There were other guys that you could have put in that position to at least keep you as close. And if they didn't, oh well, because you didn't have any clue that it was going to get to a point where you could look back at it and say, gosh, they were one hit close. They were that close. They mounted a rally. Because all day, did anything give you the possibility of a rally and give you the possibility that this offense was going to put something together?
No. Credit to them that they did rally in the ninth, but the answer to that question would be no. And then the second managerial decision that I didn't like, that's small peanuts compared to the Hader decision. When Yordan Alvarez led off the ninth inning with a double, and he was at second base with nobody out, and you're down by 3, why are you pinch running there? Like, you're not stretching Yordan to try to score on a base hit to center field or anywhere when you're down by 3 runs anyways. You're not going to run into an out. A base hit, he's going to coast into third. A base hit, he's going to coast in and score. There's nobody at first base. He's at second, so he has a 180-foot buffer on the nearest base runner. What if you get to an extra inning situation? Like, what if Hayward ties the game there? What if Hayward ties the game, you go into the 10th, which you don't have the Manfred man anymore, and then all of a sudden Zach DeZinzo's up in a big spot. Why? Because you felt like you needed a pinch runner with a runner at second and nobody out for Yordan when he could have easily coasted to third, could have easily coasted home.
Yeah, you look at that and you say, look, again, just like we were talking about with Hader, when I said if it's tied or a one-run game, and that one run is so important and so necessary, whether it's going to be tagging up from third base to need speed or scoring on a single from second base, and he's the lead runner, that runner that's so important, that makes total sense. When you're down 3 runs in the ball game and he's the first runner you've got on base trying to mount a rally, I don't understand it either because of the fact that you know your bench is thin already. You've already made several substitutions to burn a lot of guys on your bench. And if you are trying to get to a scenario where you can push it to extra innings, you're going to need to turn the lineup over. And at a certain point, I'd rather have Yordan Alvarez because the one thing we know, if he can't run and he can't field balls in the outfield, the one thing that he can do, based on the fact that he hit that laser up the middle right on early on to show you his timing was good and he could barrel up a baseball, I'd rather have him at the plate than just about any other Houston Astro, and him sitting on the bench out because of the fact that you made that substitution where you did made 0 sense.
And what are you gaining? Todd brings up in the Twitch, he says you don't want Yordan sliding into home. Under what scenario is Yordan sliding into home down by 3 runs in the 9th inning when he has 180 feet cushion on the nearest base runner? It's not going to happen. And let's play out the scenario. What happened later in the inning after Yordan Alvarez reached second base? Later in the inning, you had Alex Bregman singled, like a single up the middle on the infield single, but Yordan Alvarez will cruise into third base there. He'll cruise into third base. Bregman single up the middle. Zach DeZinzo being in for Yordan, did that matter? No, it didn't. Yordan would have cruised into second base. What happened after that? Yainer Diaz hit a slow ground ball to right field that Yainer Diaz could have walked home. So Yainer Diaz, after being at second base with nobody out, could have walked to third base on the single by Alex Bregman up the middle, and then he could have walked to home plate on the Yainer Diaz single to right. There is not a scenario where Yordan Alvarez down by 3. If it was a one-run game, much different story. If it's a one-run game, much different story. But you're not going to risk, if there's a 1% chance that a base runner would be thrown out at home down by 3 in the 9th, it doesn't exist.
No.
Like, there is 0 chance that Gary Pettis is going to risk a runner. It could have been anybody. It could have been your fastest base runner. They're not going to risk a play at the plate when they're down by 3 in the 9th in a playoff game. So pinch running there for Yordan Alvarez was pointless.
Yeah, because, again, to your point, look, I'm all on board if that's a one-run ball game. If that's a one-run ball game, whether I burn Gray Kessinger or I go to DeCenzo, I'm definitely I know I'm gonna need wheels. I know I can't jeopardize. Look, we saw what happened when Yordan tried to get to first base early in the ball game on the potential pickoff play. That looked awkward. That looked painful. That told you everything you need to know about the only thing that he can do right now, and that's hit a baseball. And once he does hit a baseball, if that's a situation where it's do or die, 1 run ties the game, then I totally understand a guy with wheels that can slide that you're not worried about. But if you're down 3 and he's the lead runner to start an inning off, and you know, hey, best case scenario, I'm trying to tie this game and force extras, or I'm trying to get back into it, then that lead runner is not going to be all that important. And you, as base coaches, are going to be telling them every step of the way, do not do anything stupid right now.
And it would have been for anybody. It would have been the same
Yes.
for Jordan as it would have been Jeremy Pena.
Tucker.
Like anybody. 2971 says sack fly. You're not going to risk an out at the plate down by 3 runs on a potential sack fly. You could get a sack fly in that situation, but the only time a runner is going to advance from third base to home down by 3 in a playoff game on a potential sacrifice fly is when they can backflip home. That's the only time.
You're not running into an extra
No,
out.
You're not running to a chance to get
Right.
an out.
If there's one out, especially if there's 2 outs, but if in any situation, you're not going to give the opportunity to get a second out on a fly ball, no matter who it is, down 3 runs.
Yeah,
You're just not going to do it.
Yeah, sack fly. 2585, sliding at the plate. 2585, we got beat, guys. Stop blaming some late game calls by our manager. We got our butts kicked. We couldn't hit for crap on it tomorrow. Okay, that could be true, but we got to talk for the next 44 minutes. So you sound like a really fun guy to talk to about the game. 60-30, Joe Silas showed his scared management skills. Also, when are we firing Alex Cintron? I think Alex Cintron always takes the blame for poor offensive games. It's like, oh, Cintron, he's the guy to blame.
Remember when Miller and Murphy were the scapegoat for everything going wrong with the pitching staff early in the season? It's the easiest crosshairs to get into from a fan base perspective is the hitting and the pitching coaches, depending on who's not doing their job. And we saw it happen all season long. We had the struggles with the pitching staff for a while. We knew that it never really synced up. So when one was good, the other was bad until they absolutely got on fire. And everybody wanted somebody fired. There's no heads that are going to roll because you face Tarek Skubal today. And Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher in the American League, and if not the best pitcher in baseball, one of them. And when you face a guy like that, there's no way you're going to put your hitting coach in the crosshairs and say, you got to do better, dude. No, because the hitters had to do their job, and it was a tough job to do in an uphill climb against a guy with an arm like that.
Yeah, offense to blame for me, but it's not Cintron. 4662, the double speak is wild. How would you leave Jordan in the game, citing it's a 3-run game, and then not put Hader in because it's a 3-run game? Makes zero sense. Joel, stop letting the double-mindedness go unchecked. I guess he's talking to me. Much different scenarios. Like Josh Hader has a gas tank as a pitcher. Like he's got a tank as a pitcher. Going to him today uses a bit of the gas in his tank, and it's not going to be able to be filled back up if you use them today and tomorrow. And if you use them both tomorrow and then the next day, and if you use them tomorrow and the next day, he's going to be empty when he comes into the game. Jordan doesn't have a gas tank. We're asking him to cruise cautiously into the next base. Like trying to compare the pitcher and the hitter there is one of the worst cross references I've ever seen, quite frankly.
And I also been very outspoken. And the fact I don't like either move because of the deficit that you were facing. I don't like using Hader because you're down 3. I don't like trying to, take Jordan out of the game because if I am going to anticipate that if some rally does take place, that he's not the important run, they're not going to focus on him and you're not going to do anything stupid. But if you are able to tie the game, which you're trying to do, his bat is so much more important than anybody on that roster that you could possibly use.
Yeah, the gain of adding a pinch runner in that spot, which is minimal at best, is not worth the risk of potentially losing Jordan in extras. 6805, what about a pass ball situation? Would you rather have Jordan or DeZenzo doing that? Again, I am not trying to take home plate if it risk an out at all. If there's a 1% chance at an out at the plate, I am not sending the runner down by 3 runs in the 9th. The run does not matter. Base runners matter. Bringing the tying run to the plate matter. You're not going to risk running into an out at the plate.
You need 3 runs. You don't need 1. So therefore, you've heard the term used in baseball before, station to station. You don't run yourself out of an inning. You don't run yourself into an out. You're not going to be focused, nor is the defensive team going to be focused on that first run. They're going to be hyper-focused on making sure the tying run doesn't get on. If he does, he doesn't get into scoring position. And the fact that they don't get 3. They're not even going to be focused on that lead guy. And if you are planning on tying the game, you need Jordan Alvarez if you do become lucky enough to be the 539th opportunity to get that opportunity.
1-run game, I get it. 3-run game does not matter. You're pulling your best bat out of the lineup for no reason. So Joe Espada after the game, he says that Hunter Brown will start tomorrow. He said tomorrow is a do-or-die game. If I have to use Kikuchi tomorrow, I will use Kikuchi tomorrow. What do you think of Joe Espada potentially having to use Yusei Kikuchi tomorrow? And we'll talk about the Jeremy Pena bunt in the 9th inning. What did you make of those decisions? What do you make of the potential decision to use Kikuchi tomorrow if he needs to? So Joe Espada, after the game, asked on who will pitch tomorrow. He says Hunter Brown's going to get the start. Joe Espada, tomorrow is a do or die game. If I have to use Kikuchi tomorrow, I will use Kikuchi tomorrow. What do you think of the idea that if he must, he will use Kikuchi in game 2?
I hate that. I hate it with a passion because as much as I understand your season's on the line, we just talked about the guys you didn't use. We just talked about the guys in your pen that you still have that you can use. If you need another starter, you have another starter in your bullpen. You have the back end of your bullpen guys that are going to be available, but because it looks like if you are looking for advantages between you and the Tigers, they're going to probably look to go to an opener, but they're going to look to all hands on deck. I think, A.J. Hinch said it was chaos. They were going to try and, with glue and tape, piece together the next 2 games. You're at a distinct advantage by the fact that you have 2 above average pitchers that are sitting there waiting to go. I would use everybody but Kikuchi tomorrow just so that you have a guy that can give you innings that can be effective in a game 3 should you get there. I don't like it. I don't think it's thinking too forward. I don't think it's like putting the cart in front of the horse in this case because you have a lot of other quality arms you can go to.
Yeah, Oscar, I don't like it either. I think a lot of times whenever you have these do-or-die games, but you still have to win multiple games, people kind of overreact to that one singular game. Like, well, you got to win that one or you can't get to the other one, which is true. But you also can't advance if you don't win both. Right. So, you have to do what is best to win both games. You can't do what is best to win game 2, and then all of a sudden you have absolutely nothing in game 3, and you've killed your chances of winning a game 3. So, yes, game 2 is a must-win. But you know what other game is a must-win? Game 3. So you have to make decisions that give you the best chance to win both games. Other than, if there's not an extra inning game, I could see a little bit the idea of you've ran out of pitching, it's the 14th inning, and Yusei Kikuchi's the final guy left, and you have to use him. Okay, that's desperation, that's emergency, that's something that I would be okay with. But if you're going to Yusei Kikuchi tomorrow and the game's 9 innings long, you've really, really emptied the tank to win a game 2, and then you've really decreased your chances of winning a game 3. So I'm not a fan of it. Oscar says there will be no game 3 if they don't win game 2. Doofus, that's a great point. You're right. There is no ALDS if you don't win game 2 and game 3. So, I don't like the idea of Yusei Kikuchi being in the bullpen a day before another must-win, should you win tomorrow if you're lucky enough. If you get into a Roger Clemens 18-inning game situation, he had to come in the game, okay, I get that. But there's no reason he should be in the bullpen in the first 9 innings tomorrow.
No, and you're right about lessening the chances for the game 2 and the game 3, and you need both wins, and you've got to give yourself a fighter's chance. We've already talked about guys you could use, but the reason why they set the roster up the way they did is they have a lot of quality arms on this team. They have guys that can go multiple innings that you can go to. You have guys that pitch today that you could go to tomorrow if you have to. But Kikuchi gives you the best chance, along with the back end of your bullpen guys that can go 2 days in a row in the case of Presley and Abreu, no matter what happens with Hader tomorrow, to where that grossly shortens the amount of pitchers you're going to need tomorrow. Because if those guys each give you 1, maybe one of them can give you 2 in the case of Abreu. And depending on how many you get from Kikuchi, you would assume he's probably hovering in around 5. Then you're already through 7 of the 9 innings. I'll take that chance knowing that I've got guys that are above average that get a lot of outs, as opposed to trying to do what A.J. Hinch is going to do for the next 2 days and piece it all together, especially when a lot of your guys are going to be taxed.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that quote from Espada. Huey in spring, Espada's doing dumb baseball again, overthinking and trying to force a magic moment. I think that's fair. I think using Hader in the 9th inning, and if potentially he uses Kikuchi tomorrow before extra innings, I would say that is up there too. What'd you make of the Pena bunt in the 9th inning? The Astros had 1 across. You had runners at first and second, nobody out, tying runs at first base. Jeremy Pena represents the winning run. Lays down a bunt after fouling off a sacrifice bunt attempt, and then lays it down on the second effort.
I had absolutely no problem with it because of the fact that, look, he has a tendency to flail and chase a lot of bad pitches. The last thing you need is a guy that doesn't give you anything, strikes out there. You don't have the runners in scoring position. If you do what he does, you give the guys coming up behind him, 2 guys have a chance to hit. You take yourself out of a double play ball too, and all you need is 1 knock that could tie the ball game for you. I had absolutely no problem with it.
Yeah, I think that what he's doing that day matters. Like, I don't think that there's an automatic bunt. I don't think there's an automatic swing away when it comes to that specific scenario. I think you kind of have to take the temperature of what the guy looks like that day. This is kind of where I'm anti-analytics. This is more whenever I'm like pro. What is the gut feeling with this? Like more the Dusty Baker. Like I don't care what the numbers tell me. Pena was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. I think it's an easy bunt in that situation. If Pena was hitting like if Bregman had a good day at the plate, 2 for 4, missed a home run by 6 inches. He missed another home run that he yanked down the left field line, maybe by a couple of feet if he would have, straightened it out, like Little League parents would say. Like, no way I'm bunting Alex Bregman in that spot who's having a good day at the plate. Obviously not like a Yordan who's really good, Kyle Tucker who's really good, probably not even like an Altuve. But whenever I have a guy who's 0 for 3, struggling, 3 strikeouts, like even if it was 0 for 3 with laser right at people, okay, swing away. But when it's 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts, and you look overmatched at the plate that day, I'm okay with the bunt in that spot.
Yeah, I'm fine with it for that, and the fact that, again, like I said, it takes you out of the double play. All you need is one hit, and you should conceivably tie the ball game. So it sets you up to put both runners in scoring position, tying run into scoring position. That's really huge for you. So those two scenarios in itself, on top of the fact that Pena was struggling, Pena, has a propensity for double play balls and or the swing and miss as he was doing today. So I had zero problem with any of it. I actually thought he laid down a good bunt because of the fact that a lot of guys on this team can't bunt. He puts you in a situation where you had just all you needed was one hit from 2 guys, and you had a chance to tie the ball game.
713-780-ESPN, HRP listener line. Get your thoughts on it. Do we still feel confident about the Astros' chances to win Game 2 and Game 3? Will Kunkel just posted a stat that no team in the wild card era, in the wild card round, has come from an 0-1 deficit. Never happened, which is kind of interesting. But it's only been a couple of years,
home team?
period.
Or all teams?
Period. But I think this is only, the third year of it?
Yeah, that's true.
It's only the third year, so they're 0 for 8.
Okay.
I don't think that's just
I like the
huge
pitching scenario.
number.
I like the fact the offense should be better against whoever they throw that's not Tarek Skubal. Let's buck the trend.